Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I am Omar Khalid. But today is the 11th of July 2023, and these are the stories that we will be discussing in detail during the course of the show. We'll begin with the 3-day Gandhara Symposium 2023 that has begun today. It's going to go on for 3 days. It's entitled Cultural Diplomacy, Reviving Gandhara Civilization and Buddhist Heritage in Pakistan. It's happening in Islamabad. How important is cultural diplomacy for a country like Pakistan? How important is also the Gandhara civilization to not only attract tourists in Pakistan, but also to bridge gaps and to promote interfaith harmony? This is going to be our first segment. Our second story today, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the Indian assault on the constitutional order. The Indian Supreme Court from today is going to start hearing all the petitions against the abrogation of Article 370. Now, the fact remains that one of the main petitioners is being given different kinds of threats to either lay off or to back off from his petitions. This said, the Indian Supreme Court says that it is going to hear all of these petitions on a daily basis. Will there be any outcome looking at the background of the BJP government and India under the BJP and how it has been abrogating not only the Article 370 but also all other human rights as well? This is going to be our second story. And finally, we'll be talking about the World Population Day 2023 that is of course being observed across the world today. The theme this year is unleashing the power of gender equality. How important is it for countries such as Pakistan to unleash the power of gender equality? The women, the girls working in different spheres in Pakistan, and also how to understand different ways and mechanisms to bridge or to halt population expansion. This is going to be our third story. Let's begin with our first, and that concerns cultural diplomacy, the 3-day symposium on Gandhara that is being held in Islamabad on reviving Gandhara civilization and the Buddhist heritage in Pakistan. More in the following report.
The symposium, titled Cultural Diplomacy, Reviving Gandhara Civilization and Buddhist Heritage in Pakistan, is being held under the Prime Minister's vision of interfaith harmony. The symposium aims at raising global awareness about the historical and cultural significance of the Gandhara civilization and Buddhist heritage in Pakistan. Chairman, Prime Minister's Task Force on Gandhara Tourism, Dr. Ramesh Kumar Vankwani, and Minister for Religious Affairs and Interfaith Harmony, Senator Talha Mahmood, will also address its different sessions, besides keynotes by different foreign and local dignitaries. The delegates will also call upon President Dr. Arif Alvi. The objective of the conference is to promote and preserve the rich historical and cultural Buddhist heritage in Pakistan. By leveraging the power of cultural diplomacy, the conference further aims to strengthen international relationships, foster mutual understanding, and enhance cultural exchange. The conference will also feature speeches and panel discussions, coupled with a field visit to sites of religious significance to the Buddhist community, while providing a platform for networking, collaboration, and the exchange of ideas and best practices. A number of Buddhist monks from Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, Nepal, South Korea, and Sri Lanka would attend the symposium.
Dr. Ramesh Kumar Vankwani, Chairman, Prime Minister's Task Force on Gandhara Tourism, joins us online. Dr. Saab, it's a pleasure to have you here to talk about this very important symposium that is being held, this 3-day symposium on the Gandhara civilization. What are the main objectives of this symposium?
The main objective of the symposium is to promote a good image of my beloved country in the eyes of the international community, to boost our economy by promoting the faith tourism in our country, because in our country, the history of 2005 ago was the Buddhism, Hinduism, and Jainism is there. By promoting this and welcoming the tourists here, I think we will boost our economy. Third, the creating of jobs, business activity, local community involvement in this. I think it will give a good message and the engagement of the people of the Pakistan. Due to engagement of the people of the Pakistan, you will see that terrorism will be finished. because the terrorism is due to the hungry of the children of the people. That's why the people are going to do the terrorism on only some rupees or some dollars. So, and with this, to adjust all the religion, Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism, it was a dream of Qaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah. That after Medina Riyasat, in which all religion are, there was a respect. There was a model, even in the 11th August speech of Qaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah. He told everyone that you are free to go to your temple, mosque, church, gurdwara and everything. I think it is very important that by promoting this, the negative travel advisory will be changed in the positive travel advisory. Our image will go in better way, in the eyes of the international community. So I think the blessing of the God is also important in this, by promoting, by adjusting, by accommodating, by facilitating the tourist people who wants to see the Buddhist sites here. Because the Buddhism, start of the Buddhism, Buddha birthday is in the Nepal, but start of the Buddhism, especially from the Pakistan. So when today in our meeting in the symposium, I see all the people are very, very happy to see. They said that when we came here, the people, the parents, and he told us that are you safe or not. But now we are giving the message to Pakistan that we are listening about the Pakistan is different, but seeing is different. I think the happiness on the faces of these monks, most vulnerable monks, scholars, content writer and diplomats, and the start of the facilitation to them to come there, it is a good sign for the Pakistan, for the Qaidism Pakistan. So it is my dream, and to fulfill the dream, every nation should stand with the dream of its leader. Abraham Lincoln was the president of America. He has seen the superpower dream, and the nation have fulfilled. Xi Jinping, the China president, has seen the dream. The nation have fulfilled their dream. So I think it is very, very important section, and hopefully in the end of July or first week of August, you will see the chartered flights will start directly to Islamabad airport, and there will be a service to accommodate people, to facilitate people, and for this I have already make up a web portal in which all the hotel and tourist company already connected. Secondly, I have already made the policy act to Gandhara Tourism Act, which already submitted to the Prime Minister for the approval. So if these steps have been done, the Gandhara tourism will go in hype, and it is my dream. And in my view, when you work in a good faith for a good work, then the God will bless you, God will help you, and also with the blessing of the people who visited today and who wants to visit, with their blessing, my dream will be complete.
Inshallah, inshallah. Dr. Ramesh, how important is the Gandhara civilization and all the different aspects of this thousands and thousands of year old civilization for countries such as Pakistan and other neighborhood countries, of which Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Nepal, South Korea, Vietnam, Thailand are part of?
Yes, now I have focused only the South Asian countries. In the South Asian countries, the population is more than 50 crores of the Buddhist people. If I only facilitate 1% of this population, which is only 500,000. So through this 500,000, if one people come for 10 days, he will spend $3,500 by one people. The economy exchanger, the dollar, will be put in our economy $1.75 billion. So it is my dream that the economy will boost 1.5 to 1.75 billion dollar in this year, and it will be double 3 billion in next year and 6 billion in the again next year. Because due to the system of tourism, the facility will be increased at the site by the people of the Pakistan, by the government of the Pakistan. So it is a very, very good. I am very happy today when I meet with different monks and different diplomats. They are ready to sign the MOU. They are ready to sign the Takshashila Declaration. They are ready to connect air connectivity, direct flight from their places. Everybody wants to see the Buddhist site here in Pakistan. So you will see the change. I hope God give me health and success that I can complete this mission to build image of my beloved country in the eyes of the international community.
I think that is a very important step that you have taken, and all the endeavors that you have also made in this regard are also exceptional. Now, looking at the Gandhara civilization, Dr. Ramesh Kumar, how important is it from a cultural perspective for a country like Pakistan?
Gandhara civilization has the two parts. One is tangible, one is intangible. The intangible is the peace, prosperity, progress, interfaith harmony, humanity. And second is the cultural part, which is the archaeology, heritage sites, preservation, protection, excavation. So they have the two parts. So for this, I today in my symposium, I outline all the universities in Pakistan for all the faculty members of all universities and students. And every auditorium today program was online. The people have seen that Pakistan is now going on the right pathway. So due to Gandhara civilization, we will promote the humanity also in our society. For this, I am working on the educational sector, research sector, and the scholars, content writers who know about the Gandhara civilization, in which there was a respect. You see, the Buddhism, 2,500 years old, a religion in which the Hindu people, Jain people, all are the equal and too much respect. And this is also a theme of our holy prophets also. And through this, the mission of the Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah will be complete. The vision of the Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah will be complete. That after Medina Riyasat, Pakistan will be a model. So with the grace of God, inshallah, Pakistan will be a model very soon. And I have the honor that to fulfill the commandment of Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah and being of the people of Pakistan and my dream, I am the key that I am doing this job. And in my religion, I have two mothers. One mother which is giving the birth, and second mother is my name. I respect both same. Named who is giving me the food.
All right.
Which I have learned from my teachers and from my parents.
That is so true, and I think that's a very important principle to adhere to. Dr. Ramesh Kumar, finally, cultural diplomacy is a very important tool for, especially for countries such as Pakistan, and the Gandhara civilization, and this symposium is going to prove to be a very important step, and all the efforts that you are making and have been making in this regard are also quite appreciable. Yes, sir.
Good question. The truth is, I have given the name of the cultural diplomacy, Gandhara diplomacy. Through this Gandhara diplomacy, the connectivity, G2G agreement between government to government, B2B agreement between the business community, tourist company, travel company agreement between the B2B agreements, and P2P, people to people content. All these are the promotional material and to increase the connectivity between the countries. The strategic position, Qaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah said that the geography of the Pakistan will run the Pakistan. So through this, our cultural diplomacy, you will see the Pakistan connection with other regional countries will be increased and strengthened, which is very, very important at this time.
All right, Dr. Ramesh, final question. You talked about the importance of cultural diplomacy. You talked about the importance of job creation through the Gandhara civilization and this cultural diplomacy and the diplomacy through tourism as well. You've made a lot of efforts. You talked about the 2 charter flights that are going to bring in Buddhist monks and Buddhist followers in the next couple of days. And then you have said that you want 1 flight per day to come to Pakistan of all the Buddhists. Also, you've talked about the web portal to facilitate religious tourism and greater academic and research and archaeological excavation as well. How optimistic are you of cultural diplomacy serving as a tool to promote not only interests of Pakistan in other countries, but also bridge links between countries and Pakistan?
I think in your question you already described that when the people will come here, the connectivity will be increased. And this will be a bridge. This will be a bridge between the 2 countries when the people will come. For this, I have already arranged a web portal. Through this web portal, the people can get the visa within 7 days. Safety security is our responsibility. So it is my dream when the people have seen the dream with good wishes for good cause, the God will bless. So hopefully you will see the charter flights soon in the end of July or August. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so very much, Dr. Ramesh Kumar Vankwani, Chairman, Prime Minister's Task Force on Gandhara Tourism, to have joined us, to have talked to us about this 3-day symposium on the Gandhara civilization that has begun today in Islamabad. It's a very important symposium, and we have delegations from many countries that are attending it, and the people are extremely happy that not only do they get to see one of the seats of the Gandhara civilization, that is Pakistan, but also get to discuss ways and means to promote cultural tourism and bridge the links between their countries and ours. And of course, the efforts of Dr. Ramesh Kumar Vankwani are extremely exceptional in this regard. Let's come to our second story, and that concerns the Supreme Court of India, that is all set to do here today a batch of nearly 23 petitions challenging the Modi government's decision to abrogate Article 370 of the Constitution. Will it happen? Will there be some kind of result in that regard? More in the following report.
In Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, Indian troops have made life difficult for the Kashmiri people, and human rights are violated there on a daily basis. In order to tighten its grip on occupied valley, the Modi-led fascist Indian government repealed Kashmir's special status on August 5, 2019 and imposed a military siege in the territory. The abrogation of Article 370 was an assault on the constitutional order and was taken without the consent of the people. Additionally, Article 35A, which safeguarded certain residency rights and protection for the local population, was completely scrapped. These articles safeguarded the rights and autonomy of Kashmiris, providing a degree of political and economic independence. The BJP revoked Article 370 unconstitutionally and illegally, despite several past rulings by the Supreme Court in the cases. Nearly 4 years after the abrogation of Article 370, a constitution bench of the Indian Supreme Court will hear a batch of petitions challenging the New Delhi's move. Over 20 petitions are pending before the Supreme Court, challenging the BJP-led government's August 5, 2019 decision to abrogate Article 370 of the Constitution. Hindutva extremism is turbocharging India's repression in occupied Jammu and Kashmir to impose its colonial annexation, but it failed to break resolve of Kashmiris yearning for freedom from Indian clutches.
Dr. Asma Shakir, Khawaja, who is the Executive Director of the CISS in Azad Jammu and Kashmir, joins us online. Dr. Saiba, pleasure to have you on board for this very important discussion. Dr. Saiba, now these 23 petitions against the abrogation of Article 370 are going to be heard starting from today. What are your expectations? Are you optimistic?
Uh, any institution in India under the under Modi regime, it is a bit difficult to be optimistic about justice and equality. So I'm not very hopeful though, but still it is a good move. It is one can have hopes that Indian Supreme Court would have a daily hearing of such report such on this case, and maybe we will be able to see what Indian judiciary would decide about it. But we have seen a trend of Indian judiciary supporting the illegal or illegitimate acts of BJP regime in the different states of India and in the center as well. So this is how right now I'm seeing this situation. Otherwise, if we see that that why the revocation of Article 370 from Indian Constitution is illegal or illegitimate. So there are several reasons from one can find within Indian Constitution that Indian Supreme Court, Indian Supreme Judiciary should seize or should reject this move by Mr. Modi to undermine the indigenous status, indigenous community of Kashmir and autonomous status of Kashmir Valley as of Jammu and Kashmir. So, and this reminds me that first of all, the letter of accession between the Maharaja and the Indian government, which is a disputed letter, although, but even from starting from that letter, Indian government again and again pledged that they will not touch, harm, dilute, change, transform the status of Jammu and Kashmir in any aspect, whether these are democratic changes or these are demographic or environmental or rights to indigenous Kashmiri public. So first the letter of accession, and then comes the UN resolution of 1949, which again pledged that the India and Pakistan and UNO mutually would decide through plebiscite the Kashmiri public that what is the future of Jammu and Kashmir, and then comes the agreement between Mr. Abdullah and the Indian government again, which decided that how that the status of Jammu and Kashmir would be autonomous and the state would be run by indigenous Kashmiri population, and there would be minimum interference by Indian government until the issue is permanent, the Kashmir conflict is permanently resolved. And then later on, this is the third pledge, and the fourth pledge is when in 1972 India and Pakistan signed Shimla Agreement. Shimla Agreement again says that India and Pakistan would bilaterally decide the operational plan of the implementation of UN resolutions of 1949, which grant Kashmiri public right to self-determination. And till then, no, there would be no demographic, geographical change in Jammu and Kashmir, and there would be a complete status quo not to undermine the rights of indigenous population. Moreover, Indian Constitution agrees that there is a clause in Indian Constitution that they would abide by international law. So, as per all these written agreements which are available in libraries, which are available in national archives, that Indian government cannot unilaterally, without the consent of Kashmiri public, without the consent of Pakistan, can change the status of Jammu and Kashmir, whether
But
that
Dr.
change is
Asma,
geographical or demographic.
with due apologies, Dr. Asma, the fact remains that hasn't India done exactly the opposite? You refer to so many different judgments, so many different agreements that have been made in the past, and you allude to all of these very important agreements that have been made. But despite despite that, we saw what happened in August 2019 when India abrogated the Article 370, not giving any kind of regard to all these previous resolutions. Will, in the light of these past 3 years, 2019 onwards, will there be any change regarding these 23 petitions and the ruling of the Indian Supreme Court?
We can hope for the best, because when Mr. Modi regime, BJP regime, revoked the Article 370, that is a manifestation of the domestic politics of India as well, because Congress was the political party which is supporting and which signed Article 370, so which incorporated Article 370 in Indian Constitution. So with it, because of its rivalry with Congress, and in order to justify BJP's claim that Congress is not dealing Kashmir rightfully, they revoked that article. So for me, it is a manifestation of domestic point scoring politics. And then Modi, when right now, I think a few days back, BJP regime submitted a letter to the Indian Supreme Court that article revocation of Article 370 has brought in immense, unprecedented development, economic security, and peace, and all this in Jammu and Kashmir, and that is ironic. So I don't know. I cannot see that if Modi regime is ready to accept that their act of revocation of Article 370 is against the human rights of indigenous public. It is against international law. It is against Indian Constitution, and it is against this the basic value, or the value of any agreement between India and international community. Because and then here it would be pertinent to mention that revocation of Article 370 hasn't brought anything for Jammu and Kashmir. There is no such development by arranging a tourist boot camp in Srinagar. India not at all cannot claim that there is peace and security, because we all know international media have shown the videos, and the reported the news that how Jammu and Kashmir was extremely militarized only to conduct that summit. And then if we see the number of Indian occupant forces on ground in Indian Jammu and in the illegally Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir, there is no decrease in the number of Indian forces. So if there is peace and security, and as said by BJP regime, unprecedented Indian peace and security in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, then why there is no decrease in the presence, in the numbers of Indian military forces? And then if there is economic security, that is the biggest lie Modi regime. And this is ironic. This is against the democratic values when a government lies with its own judiciary and submit a letter which is not being supported by the facts. Because fact says that Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, in the first year of the revocation of Article 370, they have faced 100 crores. The Jammu Kashmir economy faced 100 crores economic loss, because as we all know that Modi regime's one of the sub policies of subjugation by Modi regime is to destroy the livelihood of Kashmiri indigenous population.
So,
They
do you
destroy
feel, Dr.
their
Asma,
houses,
today,
and
you talk about destroying the livelihood of the Kashmiri people. Do you feel this is one of the results that the BJP government has wanted to have, so as to increase the number of non-Muslim and non-resident population within the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, so that whenever the plebiscite happens, it goes in favor of the Indians? What, in your point of view, have been the political ramifications of the abrogation of Article 370 for the BJP government?
political ramification, honestly, is that India has lost Kashmir forever. And it was the revocation of Article 370 when Modi regime sentenced the pro Indian Kashmiri leadership in sent them to house arrest. No Kashmiri leader was free after revocation of Article 370. Some were in jail, and some were in few were under house arrest. So this is the political ramification. But what Modi regime what wants to achieve through political engineering, that is another story. For political engineering, through political engineering, they are they are disturbing the demographic number of Muslim population, and illegally or unnaturally trying to increase the number of non-Kashmiri population in illegally Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. They have Modi regime 3 years back have constituted a judicial commission to redraw in the parliament constituencies in illegally Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and through that redesigning, BJP regime manufactured to increase the number of seats, state assembly seats, and federal the Lok Sabha seats of from the areas where Hindus were in population in illegally Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir, decrease the seats of Valley and increase the seats of Jammu. So this is how manipulative, and through manipulation, Modi regime is trying to dilute the intensity of Kashmir conflict.
All
But
right,
history has
let's talk of
shown
manipulation.
us.
Dr. Asma, let's talk of manipulation. Do you feel that hearing these 23 petitions against the abrogation of Article 370 is also somehow a face-saving mechanism of manipulation by the BJP government in order to tell the world, look, we are following what our Supreme Court says. We are hearing our Supreme Court is hearing all the petitions against the application of the article that we had enforced in 2019. Do you feel it is trying to appease the West through mechanisms such as these?
It can be one of such those efforts, but again, Indian constitution, agreements of Indian governments, they are narrating another story. How international law completely prohibits to decide any such unilateral action without the consent of indigenous public people, and indigenous people of Kashmir, they are heard in any decision making process. And what democracy demands, that decision making processes should be inclusive, and the mechanism given in even in Indian constitution, they need the consent and approval of state assembly of illegally Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir before taking any such decision. But what they did, they put all political leadership of illegally Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir behind the bars. Their reservations, their opinion was not part of any decision making process, and they were unheard. If you see Indian media, even the opinion, the viewpoint, the ideas of indigenous Kashmiri people are not represented in Indian larger media setup, and that is why Modi regime thought that very easily, conveniently, they would be able to revoke Article 370 and get away with that. But it is good that at least, and I am, as a student of international relations, I am looking forward to see that if Indian Supreme Court, and how Indian Supreme Court would brush the Indian Constitution under the carpet to support this illegal, illegitimate act of Modi regime. Because right now I told you that there are 4 international agreements Indian government has signed, and they prohibit any such unilateral action in Jammu and Kashmir. How I see it, that Modi regime thought that okay, that those agreements were signed like 70 years before this or ago. So it is, people would have forgotten it. International community is not attentive to the gross gross human rights violation and the torture carried out by Indian forces in illegally Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. So it is the maybe the right moment to revoke the Article 370. But we all know that that has turned, whether it is regional situation or it is in domestic situation, that has negatively harm all this. We all know that Pakistan demands that before starting any negotiation or peace talks with India, it is very important that India roll back its decision of the revocation of Article 370.
All right,
But we have
let's
to
talk of
see.
Pakistan-India relations, Dr. Asma. How important is handling the situation of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir in the proper manner through proper negotiations and talks between all the parties concerned, that include Pakistan as well, to find some solution to this dispute? Or do you feel that India is in no mood to find any solution to this dispute? Which brings me back to the Supreme Court of India. Do you feel the Supreme Court of India is under the influence of the BJP government? Or if it is not under the influence of the BJP government, do you feel that the BJP government will be able to fool the Indian Supreme Court into deciding that the decisions taken by it in 2019 were judicial in context?
Number one, peace negotiation or peace talks are the ultimate way, medium to solve crisis and conflict between two states or several states. So we cannot, nothing can undermine the importance of communication. Nothing can undermine the will, the political will of public and the concerned governments to resolve their conflicts through talks. So definitely, but then we have to see, we have to create an enabling environment for those talks. And right now, revocation of reverse or of the decision of revocation of Article 370 would be the most important enabler for the regional environment where India and Pakistan can restart the composite dialogue, which was discontinued by BJP regime. But here I would like to emphasize that I use the term political will of both governments. And when as we need two to tango, so until or unless both India and Pakistan, the governments in place, would not have political will and resolve to resolve their bilateral conflicts through peaceful talks, nothing would happen. But again, this time the duty of facilitating the most important enabler responsibility of lies with India, because India has to because it is India which negatively try to affect the status quo of Jammu and Kashmir. It is India which is illegally, illegitimate way trying to convert the Muslim majority Jammu and Kashmir into a Hindu majority Jammu and
Now, Dr.
Kashmir.
Asma, let's talk of
And
the
it
relations
is
between the Indian
India.
Supreme Court and the BJP government. How important is this relationship? Is one under the influence of the other? Can one influence the other?
See, this is the same judiciary which allowed the construction of Ram Mandir. It is the same judiciary which declared Mr. Rahul Gandhi as he cannot participate in forthcoming elections and sent him to jail, gave him jail sentence. So it is the same judiciary now which is listening, which is hearing the petitions on petitions challenging the revocation of Article 370. So we have to see that how they would endorse the policies of Modi regime and what justification and logic they would use. And it is the same judiciary which gave this sentence to Mr. Yasin Malik, the one of the most iconic Kashmiri freedom political leaders who are working for the freedom of Kashmir. And whose whole struggle is non-violent, and he laid his arms on the request of Indian government by trusting them that they would listen to the non-violent movement for the freedom of Kashmir. But we see that today Yasin Malik is behind the bars, and these courts, Indian courts, are only legitimizing the act of Indian government to keep him behind the bars. So as I said earlier, that situation is not very hopeful, that we can hope that Supreme Court would force Indian
Reverse its
government to reverse
decision.
the order of revocation of Article 370. But let's see, there is maybe, like, we have to see, and okay, how and then how that daily hearing. I don't know why after like 3 years the hearing would be started, and then it would be a daily hearing. So we have to see that how things would move,
Exactly.
and we all know
Dr.
that
Asma, how
in
what
2020.
is the Dr. Asma, what is the reaction of the political parties in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir? How hopeful are they? I'd like to refer to what Umar Abdullah said. He said today's proceedings are just the beginning. Are they just the beginning?
Uh, See, they don't have any other options but to remain hopeful. If they would not be hopeful, how would they continue their struggle? And as you quoted yourself, Umar Abdullah, a pro-Indian political leader of Kashmir, pro-India. So if he still has faith, we cannot forget that 2024 is an election year in India. And if the Supreme Court would decide against the BJP regime, they would not have any such thing, I would say, success story to share with the Indian public or to sell it in forthcoming elections. So situation is bit complicated and multi-layered, and to analyze it, we need to view it from the perspective of domestic politics in India, from the perspective of regional politics, and Indian ambitions in at global level or regional level. So it is bit complicated, and every perspective, because Modi has three faces. Modi has one face for Indian domestic public and one face for the international public. So we have to see that how these things would be managed, and how Indian Supreme Court would find its way between that state pressure and complicated situation, because we know that the Hindutva radicals, the RSS, the Vishwa Hindu pressure, or those people, those elements have been used by BG regime to pressurize different institutions. So that pressure is, or what we call it, the peer pressure or pressure of the pressure groups, and that works very well in the favor of Modi regime till to date, in BJP regime, whether it is some movie, or it is the Indian cinema, or Indian judiciary, or let's say any other state assembly, state government. So that those radicals, we know all what is happening in Manipur. And I wonder that at this particular time, ideally, if India is a democracy, which we know it is not, then right now Indian Supreme Court should be hearing a petition regarding the massacre of Christians going on in Manipur. The way, the not only massacre but the destruction of Christians' property, houses, and families. How what is happening? Manipur is burning, and international scholars, different international scholars which are working on South Asia, they are highlighting it continuously, but there is no such international reaction. We should not forget that we are talking about that how Supreme Court would preserve its integrity by after listening this case. We should
I
not
agree
forget
with
that
you on
Modi
that,
regime.
Dr. Asma. Dr. Asma, last question. We are a bit short of time, but you talked about different lens through which all of the situation is being seen. What about the lens through which the international human rights organizations and other countries in the West are looking at this current situation, including this hearing of the petitions by the Supreme Court? We know that Modi was in the US, where he was given a rousing welcome. He is going to France on the 14th of July, where he's a official guest of honor. Do you feel that there is a certain inclination of countries in the West towards the Indian side of the story when it comes to Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir?
Definitely. See, as you said, Modi has recently visited USA, and we should not forget that recently, few days back, Indian government refused the visas of the US policymakers working on religious freedom. So this is the reality of this shining India under BJP regime. Definitely, when if Indian Supreme Court would endorse the revocation of Article 370, that would be very, I would say, harmful for the ideology and the stance of Kashmiri people. But definitely, it is not the last point. The struggle and freedom struggle is on. The international human rights agencies, yes, they would also be satisfied that this act is somehow being justified by Indian judiciary and Supreme Court. So if the decision of Supreme Court would comes in favor of BJP regime, that would be quite alarming situation, and the
Well, we can only
maybe
hope and see, and the only thing that we have in our favor is hope. This is what the people in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir are having hope. This is what the political parties in the Indian Hill Valley are hoping. This is what people like myself and yourself and the international human rights organizations are hoping for, that a just solution to the issue of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, whether it be through the reversal of the revocation of Article 370, whether it be through other mechanisms through which the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir are given their due right to determine which side they want to adhere to. I think this is a normal part of any right of any human being, and this needs to be given to them sooner than later. Let's look at and let's see what the Supreme Court of India comes up with a decision as far as these 23 petitions are concerned. Thank you so very much, Dr. Asma Shakir Khawaja Sahiba, Executive Director, CISS, Azad Jammu and Kashmir, joining us and talking to us about these 23 petitions against the revocation of Article 370 that are being heard by the Indian Supreme Court on a daily basis. Let's come to our last story, and that, of course, we are talking of the World Population Day that is being observed all across the world today. The theme this year is unleashing the power of gender equality, uplifting the voices of women, and gifts to unlock our world's infinite possibilities. Our Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif Saab, in his message, said that this day draws our attention to the vast disparity between the requirements of increased population and the availability of resources needed for an affirmative policy actions to empower our communities and our people. He said that managing population growth is the key to socio-economic development, and drawing a balance between population and resources is fundamental to fulfillment of our needs. And also the message this year on gender equality, it is also extremely important and pertinent to look and think of all the women and the girls that are present as form of our population, give them the necessary resources, the necessary capabilities, so that they can not only sustain themselves but all those around them. But at the same time, we also need to put our attention to this disparity, as our Prime Minister has talked about, between increased population and availability of resources. And Pakistan is no different from the other countries. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new story segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.